Hi there, it's me, Jordan Van Haslo. Welcome to Jordan Van Haslo and Friends live on Hot 702.5 FM Las Vegas. Let's get on with the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Showtime with Jordan Van Haslo and Friends right here on Hot 702.5 FM Las Vegas. I'm so excited to chat with today's guest. She is a rapper, a DJ, and as a rapper, I think she was known, according to her Wikipedia page at least, she was acclaimed as Pennsylvania's top female Jewish rapper. Really want to talk to her about that because I really want to know about that particular category, Miss America category.
It's so weird.
She's been on the charts. She describes her musical style as flip-flop, a mixture of hip-hop, electro-clash, and electronic. And she's collaborated with a variety of people from Moby to Grandmaster Flash. Ladies and gentlemen, our new friend, Princess Superstar. Hello,
Hi.
Princess.
Hi there. It's so fun to be here.
Oh my God, so fun to have you. So before I keep going, so what should we call you? Princess, Superstar, Her Royal Highness, my liege?
No. You know, the name actually, you know, when I named myself, I really wanted something like over the top and sort of like making fun of myself and like everybody's like obsession with fame and everything. So I picked the two most like obnoxious things and put them together, like princess and superstar. So yeah, but whatever you want to do, call me princess, call me superstar. You could call me by my name, Conchetta. Whatever you love, whatever you love.
I love it. So you just came out with that. You just released a new single a little earlier this year, yeah?
Yeah. Actually, it's so excellent. It actually was a rework of my hit Perfect. I had a hit song that was like number 3 on the UK charts called Perfect Exceeder, and that was back in like 2007. And somebody took the vocal, this guy named Hamdi, he's signed to Zed's label, Deadbeats. And so he reworked that vocal and made a new song called Counting. And yeah, it's been blowing up. It was number 1 on Beatport recently, and it's got like over 1,500,000 streams in just a couple months. So it's pretty cool.
Yay, that's exciting. That's so exciting. So I guess I want to learn more about what you have coming up, but let's go back to the beginning.
Okay.
So when you were, I know I had a chance to check out your bio, and I saw you were raised in New York, but you were raised in Pennsylvania. So when you were a little girl growing up in rural Pennsylvania in the suburbs of Philadelphia, were you like looking out the window at the stars, saying, "One day I'm going to be Pennsylvania's top Jewish rapper"?
No. Like, get me the hell out of here. Get me to New York City. I was like, no.
How old were you when you left New York? Like, were you
What
old
you
enough
mean
to have been?
Pennsylvania? Well,
But
okay, so
you were okay.
basically,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go
yeah,
for
let
it.
me tell you the story. Okay, so basically, I was born in New York City, you know, and we lived there till I was 3, and it was really like the ghetto that we came from, and that's like my street cred right there, and that's where my street cred ends when I'm 3 years old. Done. No
Born
more
and
street cred.
raised on the streets.
Exactly. Spanish Harlem, you know what I'm saying? And then we moved to like rural Pennsylvania and then like suburbs of Philly when I was 3. And there I was always like, get me the hell out of here. Like, I mean, we would go into Philly. Like when I became a teenager, I would go into Philly and go to the clubs and stuff like that. But like, I really wasn't part of any Philly music scene or anything. And also like we weren't even practicing Jews. So like I really struggle to understand this like Jewish rapper from Philadelphia. I'm like, I don't really relate to that at all. But
Who coined
nonetheless,
that term? Who
yeah,
coined that term?
I don't know. Wikipedia, like who knows? Like proud Philly Jews that wanted to claim me, you know, like I don't know. because like if anything, I really identify as being a New Yorker because at 17 years old, I left Pennsylvania and moved to New York City, and it was such an amazing time, late 80s, early 90s, and that's where I really became Princess Superstar.
Yeah, yeah. So was there like a plan? Like, was it I'm gonna just move to New York just to get the hell out of here, or was it like I'm gonna go into the theater,
Well, yeah,
or was it
I was a theater kid. Exactly right. Like I was like, I got into NYU. So, and I got in early. So I was 17. And so like I moved to the city and, at that time, I just loved music and I loved hip hop and everything. I never thought I'd become a rapper. Never. I wanted to be an actress and
Were you
so
studying straight theater? Or were you studying musical theater? What was your field of
yeah,
study?
straight theater. I was just studying straight theater, not even musical theater. And but I was also going to the clubs in New York in the late 80s. And like, fun fact, like before RuPaul became RuPaul, like I competed against her for like in a Madonna-thon at this CD club called The World. And like, I lost. I lost to RuPaul. But like that was the time, it was like this incredible time in New York City. So alive, with like house music, hip hop. I mean, if you think about house music and hip hop in the late 80s and early 90s, I mean, it was so epic. And then on top of it, I also like was like learning guitar and joining bands. So there's like a really cool indie rock band. So it was just like this amalgam of music around me. And I soon quickly realized like, oh no, I don't want to be in the theater. I want to be in music, and that's really where the seeds of what I became, was that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. So so as you're hanging out this, the other, you're kind of pulling away from the theater folks. What was kind of like the first thing that you remember that, at least professionally, that you did that made you say like, oh, I'm doing this, or like, oh, I'm really a part of this particular community, or oh yeah, like
Uh-huh.
they're
Yeah,
gonna
it
be
was
so
really
jealous when I could tell my friends, back home in Pennsylvania.
exactly. Well, basically, it was after I graduated NYU. I was going out on auditions and I wasn't getting anything really. At the same time, I was playing guitar in an all-girl band called the Gamma Rays. What was happening was like I was getting up on stage with them at these gigs in the East Village in New York. And I was like, this is amazing. Because, like, as an actor, you have to wait for somebody to say, hey, we want you.
Totally.
You've got the job with music, or at least the way we were doing it, there was no gatekeeper. You just went out, you got your gigs, and boom, you're on stage. And I love that. Like, I didn't want to wait around. In this way, I can actually just make my own career, and I don't really have to wait for like a gatekeeper to say, yes, you're allowed to perform.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I was actually having that conversation with someone not too recently about how it sucks to be an actor in that way. But in most other, art forms, where if you're a painter, you just paint. If you're a
Right.
musician or whether it's a vocalist or instrumentalist, you just stand in the corner and sing and people. But like as an actor, it's like no one's like waiting around for people to start barking monologues at them, right?
Yeah, yeah. You're always waiting for, somebody in the casting office to like say yes. And it's just like, oh, I just hated that so much. And so I was just like, music is great because I feel that more in my soul than acting. So I just knew that. Now I didn't know I was gonna be a rapper. And basically, I was like, I love rap, but I just kind of was like, I'll just do it to make my friends laugh. And so I started rapping just to make my friends laugh. And like, because at that time, if you think about it, it was, 1992. We had like Vanilla Ice, the Beastie
The
Boys,
Beastie Boys.
Terry B. She was signed to Easy E. I
I
don't know if you
forgot
remember
about
her.
Terry. I forgot about Terry V. Yeah.
There wasn't, and there certainly wasn't anybody who was like rapping about like being from the suburbs and like kind of making fun. Like there was no real like humorous. there was no precedent really for what I was doing. So I didn't really think that I could do it for real. And I was like in this kind of indie rock scene. And plus we were going to the house clubs. So I was like, I don't know. A couple of my friends, musicians, were like, oh, you're actually really good and you should actually do this. And I'm like, oh, really? Like, wow, that's crazy. And I just listened to them because I loved hip hop anyway. And I was like, I'm not the greatest singer. I wasn't a very good singer, I was just like an okay singer. And but I loved words, and I loved the way that when you're rapping, you can say different things and use words in a different way than you can with singing. And so that's what drove me.
That totally makes sense. So what was that first performance? You're like, okay, I've been working on my rhymes. I got my outfit set. What was that first performance where you're like, okay, I'm about to do this in front of a room full of people?
Oh,
here we go.
Yeah, it was so fun to remember. Like I haven't remembered it in a while, but I was at the Pyramid Club, which is where Madonna started, actually.
I remember the Pyramid. I know the Pyramid Club.
Amazing. Were you in New York? Did you?
I wasn't. No. I grew up in Chicago, but I know.
You know about the legendary Pyramid Club.
Legendary, yeah.
It's a dump. It's a dump. Oh my God. Anyways, what had happened is I had made one single little demo tape. And in that time it was a tape, literally a cassette. I sent it to a few places, one of which was the Beastie Boys label called Grand Royal back in the day. And I sent it, and this A&R guy called me, and actually I put like a kind of sexy picture of myself in it, like in this dress up on the roof, but it was like very like kind of sexy. And the guy called me. I could tell he didn't really like listen to the tape, but he's like, is that you in the picture? Like he was totally skeevy. and I was like, yeah. And he's like, I'm coming to New York. Do you have a show? And I was like, yeah. And like I didn't have a show, but I was like, fuck, I better make a show. And so he's like, okay, I'll be there like in 2 weeks. And I just got a band together last minute and taught them my songs and everything. And we rehearsed. I got the gig at the Pyramid. They put me on at like 2 a.m.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. And I remember I had on this like pink like duster thing that like went to the floor, and like a little short pink mini skirt. I was all in pink. I wish I had a picture of this. But anyways, I stood there like frozen solid, so scared. And the guy never showed up, and there was like 5 people in the audience. But that was the birth of Princess Superstar, because that was my first show. And also because I had that like little response, I was like, oh, like all I needed was a tiny response to just be like, okay, like I'm going to do this. I'm going to try this. That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So how did you progress that? So what was, because like you said, there was no like market for like white girl rappers, right? The Iggy Azaleas hadn't come around yet. So what was like next step?
After that, I did get signed to a small Canadian independent label. I managed to have some success in Canada, of all places. Like I was on Much Music in Canada, which was like their MTV, which was pretty cool, for an indie label. And then the guy decided he didn't want to run a label anymore. And I was like, well, I guess I'm going to start my own label because nobody's signing me. So I did. I started my own label in 1997, and I called it a big, rich, major label. When I called up places, I could be like, hey, this is Conchetta from a big, rich, major label. And like people took my calls because they thought it was funny. I thought I was from a big, rich, major label. And I toured, got like, in the van, and did those, gross gigs for like $50 a pop, all over the US, and stayed in a Motel 6. And those are the days. And I just worked really hard. And I put one record out after the other. In those days, there was streaming.
That was what I was going to. But that's what I was going to ask. So let's talk about just the infrastructure of that. Like my very first record myself, I put it out, and like I was on the phone with like Baker and Taylor, and they're like, well, we need like 5,000 units. And I'm like, okay. So
Right.
And
I remember that.
so like how did you get your music out? Like did you just sell at your during your
Oh,
shows? Did you get into any stores at all? How did that
yeah.
work?
Oh my God. So I love that you also have the reference of like trying to get it to a distributor and them asking for all the units. And you're like, how am I going to afford that? Like, that's crazy. I mean, I definitely put a lot on my credit cards. I will just tell you now, like, and I don't advise that to anybody. Like, please don't do things on your credit cards. Like, but anyways, I did. And I would call up distributors, same as you. And I would be like, can I please give you like 500 units, like just to start or like that? And then also I would go into the stores myself and I would like I remember going to like Tower Records and bringing the CD and being like, okay, here's this, and I had a little bit of like press too, like I had like bad press, but I would bring like like Spin magazine. There was like this thing, like they were like Spin magazine. That was like amazing that I even got in it, on it like on an indie label. But
Totally.
they were like, this girl, she's white and she's rapping. She's probably racist. She's appropriating the culture and all this stuff. And it was so hurtful to me because like I never like pretended to be something I wasn't. I was
Well,
always authentic. And I always like, yeah, I was me. I was like, hey, look, I know like that I'm white doing this. Like I know that, like I was very aware of like, that whole thing and like
totally.
honoring, very honoring of hip hop and its roots. And but back then in the 90s it was just like there was weirdness around it. And so yeah, so like but Spin had this shitty review, and then this one other paper, the New York Press, said like Princess Super sucks. And then I had and then I had like one nice article, but the point is I had press. So I would go into the buyer at Tower and be like, hey, look, I have this press. Some of it's bad, some of it's good, but here you go. And like the section that I would go under is right next to Prince because it's Princess Superstars. Because and I'd be like, this
That's
is where
actually
you put
really
it.
good real estate. That's actually really good real
Exactly.
estate.
Exactly. Because they wouldn't do it by genre at Tower, they would do it by name. So
Hmm.
I was like, that's where I go. And they'd just be like, yes. Like, I don't know. Like, it was really a nice time. Like, I feel like, like people wanted to support local music. It was just a different time,
It was a totally different time. Well,
Yeah.
because I remember just like even Tower Records, like I would like literally just go to Tower Records. Like my evening was like, I'm going to Tower Records today. And I would just go from like listening station to listening
Mm,
post, just like listening to new music and
the
just like,
best.
oh, this will be really cool and blah, 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 blah. So yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yowzer.
So I just pushed. Yeah. I mean, like I just pushed and pushed and pushed. I worked so hard for like 6 years and I never gave up. And then do you want to get to the superstar part of the story?
Yes.
So I pushed really hard. I put out a few records. They did nothing, but I still worked and worked. And there was no like streaming. There was Napster at the time. Um, and I
Which
remember,
probably scared you because the whole idea is like, well, how am I going to really? I'm already not making money, like, not selling CDs. Now it's like they're giving it away,
right.
right?
Yeah. So it scared me, but at the same time, like we were like punk kids in the sense of like Metallica was getting really mad at Napster. And I was like, well, wait a minute, Napster is actually getting my music out to people that wouldn't have heard it. So like I recognized that early on, and I even wrote a song on one of my records called You Get Mad at Napster. And so that was that was funny. But and so I didn't mind that so much. I thought it was like a cool new invention, but I was scared too. Sure, you're always like, listen, I was broke, you know what I mean? So it was like you're always looking like, how can I make money with this music? And what happened was is in 2000, it's so random, my story. It's so random. Like there was this German magazine called Specs. And back in the day, do you remember they with magazines, they sometimes used to have CD inserts like in the
Oh
magazine?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so cool. I wish they still did. And anyways, they put on this compilation in the magazine, a song I did called Do It Like a Robot. And that song was like very like I was rapping over like a Kraftwerk type beat. And so, of course the Germans like love that. And
Hmm.
that caught the attention of an A&R guy at a record label called K7. And this A&R guy was super hip and knew all these producers and everything. He signed me and I didn't get like a big advance or anything. I was still working a day job, still doing my label. And but what I did do one smart business move back then. I really did a lot of shitty business moves, I gotta say, in my career. But let me tell you, I did one amazing thing, which is that I signed not as an artist, but I signed as a record label.
Ah,
Yes. And so
yes.
guess what, honey? 20 years later, I own my masters. Like, it's
Yes.
amazing, you know, a miracle. Like, because it's like I've gotten, screwed over so many times. And also, I just made dumb moves. So, but like, I did one good thing. So I did that. And, yeah, and the A&R guy was like, I think you should get together with this New York producer. His name is Mighty My. He's on Raucous, and Raucous was like this underground hip hop label that was huge in the 90s in New York. And
Hmm.
and then like Eminem actually started on Raucous too. And so anyways, I got with I started recording with this guy Mighty My, and we made the song Bad Babysitter. Well, wouldn't you know, Bad Babysitter like blew up all over like the UK and Europe, and suddenly it's like number 11 on the charts. And suddenly I like got this record label advance of like, 125,000. And I remember like when it hit my account, I had like $13, and so it was like 125,000 and $13 in my account. I was like, and I jumped up and down because I could quit my day job. And I was like working in an office. And
Uh-huh.
I was just like, wow. And that was 2001. And then or 2000 actually. Um, and then that was it. That was it. I became Princess Superstar officially. And the UK was like, oh, overnight success, Princess Superstar. I was like, no, honey, like I busted my ass for 6 years, like straight, you know.
That's amazing. Did you go over and start touring in the UK at
Yes,
that point, or?
immediately. And it was such a trip, I got to tell you, because I was going, I was used to the van with the four smelly guys, like, and all of a sudden I had like a tour bus. It was so
Oh
glam.
my God.
I,
Yeah.
I jumped on the tour bus and I was like screaming. And the tour bus driver, he was used to driving big stars, and he just looked at me like, oh my God. Yeah, it was a dream come true. I had worked so hard, and I don't know, it's just such a random way of everything happening. And also like it was so weird that all this success happened overseas. Like I was like, huh, this is so interesting. Like I'm from New York,
Yeah.
and
You're
and
like,
I
I'm
have
like David Hasselhoff.
that's what I used to say. I used to say that. I'm a rapping David Hasselhoff, big in Germany.
Oh my God. How long did you spend in Europe?
So basically when the success hit in Europe, and then all of a sudden I found myself like on Top of the Pops, like this huge program, and
Yeah.
all over MTV, and people crying when they asked for my autograph, like that level of fame. It was so crazy. I stayed over there for a while, and I actually also became a DJ at that time because, I always like loved house music and stuff. But what was happening in Europe around 2001, 2002 was this incredible birth of this genre called electro. And it
Hmm.
was just so amazing. It was hip hop mixed with dance music, mixed with like punk, mixed with techno. And I was just like, this is so freaking cool. And people were asking me to DJ, and I didn't know how, but I had so many DJ friends around me, and I just asked them to teach me, and I learned. And so quickly I started DJing. That was just amazing because, you're just like flown all over the world to like play parties, and it was a crazy time. It was amazing.
How do you like the DJing versus being the performer, the rapper?
Oh, well, DJing will always come second to the performing, being the rapper. What I used to do actually during my DJ sets is perform a few of my songs while I was DJing. But no,
Makes
there's
sense.
nothing. Yeah, but there's nothing like, just straight performing a set of like all your music. And in a way, I almost think, like, looking back, I'm like, maybe I got a little sidetracked with the DJing, because it was such an incredible time. But it's like, wait a minute, I was playing the main tents and now I'm playing the DJ tents, like, I wonder about that. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have been DJing all the time, but you know what? It is what it is. And like, I had such an amazing time doing it.
And
It
it's
was
all
fun.
about the experience, right? Like at the end of the
Yeah.
day, it's an experience and it's a moment in your life and it's a moment in time. So at what point did you come back stateside?
I was always living in New York, but like basically like flying to Europe like every weekend, every other. It was a crazy schedule. Basically, I had like a cult following in the US. I never had the level of fame that I had over there. So,
Mhm.
but I always still like maintain my residency in New York City, because that's where thinking like, oh, should I move to London? Should I? And I would spend lots of time over there, and I would spend a lot of time in like London and Berlin. But
Mhm.
I was always just like, no, I'm a New Yorker. This is where I want to be. And then basically after Bad Babysitter, we tried to release a couple more singles, but they didn't really do so well. I did one with Kool Keith, and then I laid low for a little while, and I put out this concept record in 2005 called My Machine. And this is a good story I want to tell, and hopefully to inspire anybody who is a creative person. I really love this story. So 2005, I put out My Machine. It's a concept record. It's like a sci-fi epic told over electro and hip hop. It's just a whole big, and I had huge artists collaborating, like Armand Van Helden and Todd Terry. Arthur
Mhm.
Baker was the executive producer, and Arthur was the producer of like New Order and Blondie. I mean, he's a
Mhm.
legendary dude. Anyways, this record comes out and it basically flops. Okay. And the record label like pulls the tour support, and I'm in the middle of tour, and they're like, sorry, tour support done. This record's not selling. And I was devastated. That was like a really like sad time in my life. And wouldn't you know that 2 years later, some DJ takes the song I did called Perfect and puts it over a club hit called Exceeder by a guy named Mason. And that thing totally blew up, actually more than Bad Babysitter. It was number 3 on the charts. This is 2007 now. So,
Mhm.
I just love telling that story, because it's like, as an artist, you can get so discouraged. I mean, but it's like, you just have to never stop if you really believe in what you're doing. And that song blew up, and that's the song, and now fast forward to 2023, and I'm still blowing up on that song. So
Yeah.
like amazing, like that came from a failure.
Well, I think that that's what's so interesting about, and this is like, I think most art forms, whether it's music, whether it's a TV show, whether it's a film, there's so much that has to come into play to make it a hit or that makes it fail, right? And it's not just, oh, it's a good or bad piece of work. It's also like the timing. What's
Yeah.
going on in the world at this particular moment? That, like, are people ready to receive this, or are people in a completely different mood? And so they're not gonna, there's so much that has to come together to make something like amazing. So it's really awesome that, like, it ultimately its time came.
Yeah. I mean, it's just such a gift, and it's like, I feel so lucky that I still can keep making music, this long. When I started in the 90s, it's just
Yeah.
like, it's a gift. And and at the same time, it's like, I can't really do anything else. I mean, I do other things, to like make money and stuff, but like I could never stop, because that's like who I am, you know?
Yeah. 100%. Do you have a process in terms of just like, your writing process, or like, do you have like, are you one of those people who like every day for like an hour and a half a day, like I'm just sitting with my notebook writing, or
Oh,
or is it
I
like,
wish.
or is it like you're inspired and it's like, oh, this could be interesting. And then you like totally zone in on it.
So it's so funny. Like, one of the things that I do, like, I'm an artist mentor, and I always tell like people, like, don't wait for inspiration to hit. Like, you actually have to force yourself. Like, I'm definitely like one of those people that's like, okay, I'm setting a timer. And for me, I just do like a very short timer. It's like 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Like, if I think, oh God, I gotta sit and write for an hour and a half, like I'm gonna die. Like that's my first thought. I will die. Like can't explain it, but it's like my biggest joy is music, and it's also like my biggest pain. Like I just like I get anxiety. Like still to this day, like I get some type of block, like some anxiety. I don't know what it is, but anyways, my philosophy is you have a discipline. You got to be disciplined about it. And so you have to do the things that you don't want to do that you really want to do. For example, like the gym, right? You don't really want to go to the gym, but you do want to go to the gym, you know?
Totally.
It's that. So same thing. Don't wait for inspiration to hit. You just set your timer. And if you're looking at the blank screen or the blank page and feeling uncomfortable, just feel uncomfortable. And it's like, so that's what I do. That's what I do is I sort of have a discipline around it. It's not easy. And all the voices too, like once you've had some success, for me, it's like, oh, you're never gonna write another perfect. So who cares? Like it's so intense.
Yeah.
Who just said that? Like, shut up.
Well, that's actually very interesting. It was interesting that you brought that up. So, like, when you had your first hit and it was like, whoa, I have a hit, was there, okay, two things. One, while you're writing on that hit, were you nervous about the fact that eventually it's going to fall down you know what I mean? Eventually something new is going to come out. And then my second question is, talk to me about what it is about, like, oh my God, am I going to do this again? Or did you kind of feel like, oh, okay, I've crossed this Rubicon, so now everything is going to be a hit?
Yeah, no, I never was like everything's gonna be hit. I'm like, oh God, I can't like live up to that. Like, well, Bad Babysitter was really an anomaly to me because, like, basically, I wrote that song. I remember vividly that I was feeling depressed. Like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna write, and I feel depressed. Maybe I'll write something funny to like cheer myself up. And so like I wrote Bad Babysitter to make myself laugh, basically. And then like the first draft was really bad. I remember writing probably 10 drafts of that song. Like I really would take my time. Like I'm not like somebody who just writes something and it's immediately brilliant. Once in a while I can write like one or two lines. I'm like, "Oh, that's really funny," but like I can't sustain it. So I have to write a few drafts and I have to do it a few times. It's work for me. It's like discipline work. It's not easy. So I wrote that and then I thought to myself when I was done, I was like, "Oh, this is really funny. Like I feel like people will like this." But I never in a million years was like this is a hit because I didn't really have like any um uh, basis for that. Like I had put out 3 records already, and this was on my 4th record, and so my 3 records were not hits. So I was like, I don't fucking know how to make a hit, and I don't know what is a hit, and like I don't sound like anybody on the radio, so like I don't really understand like how this would be a hit. But I just knew that I loved it, and that people laughed when they heard it, and were like, oh my God, this
Mhm.
is so good. And I think also that's why though I blew up in the UK and not in the US because the thing about the UK is at that time, I don't know how it is now, but on the radio, they were open. Like they were like it was so wild. Like they would play indie artists on the mainstream radio and they'd put hip hop next to like, Sting next
Oh,
to
wow, yeah.
yeah, it was just like it's so cool over there. They didn't have any, it wasn't like US radio. So I think like that really was a reason why it got on there. And they love humor, of course. And so that song was super funny and yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exciting. Yeah. So what do you see next for yourself? Is there anything that you haven't done yet that you might like to do? Like, is the idea of like you thought about because you came to New York, or you went to New York to studying theater. Is that something is acting something you might at this point like want to explore again?
Well, it's funny you should say that because I am working on a project that's like a memoir of mine, like set to music. And like I was always thinking it could be an amazing like one woman show or something, or
Yeah.
or have people, not just one woman, like, or actually just a show. So I don't know. I have to finish writing it. I've been working on it for like 7 years. Off and on with many
like the
years.
Great American Novel. It's like
yeah,
that.
exactly. Like I say 7 years, but that's like me not working on it for 3, and then like half-assed for like 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 just sort of on the back burner. But yeah,
Is
like
it
I'm
about
excited about it. Yeah,
is it about your professional journey? Is it about like your personal journey? Is it about
everything. It's a memoir.
okay.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that, and so I feel like the universe is telling me to work on it since you brought it up. So there you
You're very welcome. I do what I can to
Exactly.
help.
Thank you.
So talk to me about some of these collaborations that you've done, because you've collabed with like a lot of really, really interesting people, from
Yeah.
Moby to Grandmaster Flash to Kool Keith. How did some of these come about?
Well, I mean, in the very beginning, in the 90s, how I got some cred was by collaborating with Kool Keith, and and also Prince Paul from De La Soul. And how it happened was
Uh-huh.
Kool Keith, I was just a huge fan of, and I just thought he was such a weird, crazy rapper, and I just thought he was great. And I would just like I'd go to his shows and just be like, "Hey, I'm a rapper. Will you do something with me?" And I like bothered him, like I just was like, I was like relentless, and I was like, come on," yeah, and he just did it. He did a track with me, and it was just so amazing. And oh, I know what I did. I remember at first, I wrote a song called "Kool Keith's Ass" because I was like, oh my God, all these rappers are talking about women's asses all the time. What about if a woman wrote about a man's ass? Like, I think that could be funny. So I did that, and then I played it for him, and he really liked it, and I got him to actually like do a spoken like skit, over it. So that was exciting. I had one of those like handheld recorders, and I just like bum rushed him at a show after. I was always sort of like a go-getter. I feel like that's what you need to do, is just like go out of your comfort zone
Worst
and
come to worst, he'll just say no, go away. Like that's the worst
exactly.
that can happen. Yeah.
Exactly. And like that's why I like think it's very inspiring. Like, people, artists listening, like, you got to go out of your comfort zone. Not even artists, everybody. That's where the magic happens, is like doing something that is maybe a little uncomfortable, but just like going after your dream. So I did that. And then after I put that out, I got on the radar of Prince Paul from De La Soul, who was like such a genius. I mean, like he made, so much of the music back then for De La, and he was doing a project with this rapper named Paul Barman, and he got me on that track. And so suddenly I was having some cred within the hip hop community, which was like very important back then too, and
Hmm.
like getting co-signed essentially. After that, I don't know, like, okay, let's see. Well, Moby actually contacted me because he had a song called Jam for the Ladies, and the chorus went, "It's a jam for the ladies and the superstars," or something like that, and then thought it would be fun to have Princess Superstar on it. So we did that. And that was really cool. And I remember like that was early on, and that was the first time I had ever flown first class, because they flew me to do the video, and I was like, oh damn, like this is amazing. So we did that video, and then, oh, for Grandmaster Flash, yeah, that was amazing. I was so nervous, like, oh my gosh, like what a legend, and I just went to his house. He had a recording studio in the basement, and I
Uh-huh.
remember going through his kitchen, and it was like all vitamins, because the dude looks great. Like the dude is super healthy. Like, he's older now, and he just is like full of energy. And I was like, what are you taking? And he's just like, all these vitamins all over his kitchen. I was like, wow, Grandmaster Flash, I can't even believe I'm in his kitchen. And he's like, he's working on a record called The Bridge. And, all these super big legends were on it, like Snoop and Busta Rhymes and everything. And like little old me. And I'm like, oh my God, dying in this basement. And I mean, they weren't all there, but he was telling me they're on the record. And I'm like, what the hell am I gonna do? Like, oh my God. But he was so lovely and so nice. And he just made me do my rap like 10 times. And I was like, oh God, like maybe he doesn't like it. But he was great. Like he was like a real producer in the sense of like he got a great performance out of me. And yeah, so I
How
got
did you become a part of that project?
well, what was it? Oh yeah, my booking agent at the time was also booking him. And when he said that he was looking for female rappers, my booking agent suggested me. And I was like, this is unbelievable. Like what a gift to like work with like, the grandfather of hip hop.
Yeah, that's amazing. Is there something that you haven't had the opportunity to do that you would love to do?
Yes. So like a couple weeks ago, Doja Cat put on her Instagram that like she fucking loved me and she used my song Famous. Oh, funnily enough, from that flopped record 2005. Okay, so there's another amazing little thing. 2005, a total flop, but now Doja Cat's using my song Famous in her reel and posting I fucking love you Princess Superstar and everything, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So one thing that I really want to do, especially now like that I've lived through so much and done so much myself, I'd love to write for other artists, and that's really what I want to do. I'd love to write for Doja. I'd love to write for other established artists, and I feel like I could be a really good writer. So yeah, so that's something I've never done that I want to do.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. I don't think that that's too hard of necessarily too hard of a transition. Was there like a big jump or big bump? Like, did you, when she used your song in her reel, was there like kind of like a bump in numbers and all? Like, was there like an
So
immediate like cause and effect?
yeah, I mean, like basically, it was good. I mean, I got like probably like 800 new followers or something like that. And some of them are like, oh, girl, I never knew your music before. And that was really cool. Like getting, I guess, younger generation of people to listen to my music. But, I was expecting like a million new followers.
Right?
I'll be honest. I was like, oh, I've made it now. Because Doja has like 26 million followers or something crazy. So I'm like, where's my million? But
Well,
like, I never had good numbers. I tell you that right now. Like, I don't have good like following count and all that. I don't know. I think it's because like, I came out before social media is like, I was successful on MySpace, I guess. Like, I don't fucking know. But like, I don't have good numbers, and I was always like, why do I not have good numbers? I don't understand. Like, I make cool content and I make fun content and everything, but I'm like, I let it go. And it's just like, you know what? Like, I'm not defined by my follower count and I'm not defined by likes. And like, I think it's really important in this day and age to just say that because like so many people are like, oh God, I don't have a lot of followers or whatever. And it's like, who cares?
well, I think that that's the thing, and I think that that's one of the weird things that happened if you were around pre social media and post social media, that like people get so involved with like how many followers you have. And I think the industry is like that now, right? Like you can go audition for a Broadway show and like the first question they ask is how many followers you have.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like Instagram is its own separate career path.
Yeah. It's
You know
true.
what I mean? Like literally you can just spend your entire time just creating media for Instagram, which is totally separate than you creating records or you going out and performing live. So I totally, it's hard.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
hard.
full-time job to like it's a full-time job to make content on social media. Now, I do it because I really enjoy it. It's really fun. I'm not making crazy bank from it or anything like that. But I just enjoy it. I just have fun. So I just do it. And that's really been my MO is just like do things that are fun and do things that you like love to do. Uh but it's crazy. I mean, as an artist today, like I feel really sorry for people because they have to make the music, make the content, and then do all the other stuff. It's just like so much work.
Yeah, well, they have to be like literally like a one person label, right? Because you don't get any of the
Right.
support now until you've like actually done it. So it's like you have to figure out a way to mass market yourself, create content, not only, and it's not even just like create content weekly, like create content, something engaging on the daily.
Yeah.
Also, create whatever it is you do. If you're a musician, create your music and also have like a job to pay for it all.
That's right. That's right. And not to mention make actual money.
Exactly, right? Are you are you big? Do you use are you like on all of the platforms? Or are you like more of an Instagram person, or have you like fallen into TikTok? Like what do you use primarily?
Yeah, I mean, I was primarily just an Instagram person, but then I actually recently got on TikTok, like, and I've been having fun there. They're actually, it's so funny you talking about TikTok because there's this thing that's starting to trend, which is like a pigeon dancing to my song "Perfect." So I literally just posted like me doing the pigeon filter thing in front of the silver record I got for perfect. I hope that it goes viral.
That's amazing. I love that.
And I wrote my life is complete now that I have become a pigeon, trending pigeon viral meme. Now I can die as an artist, very happy. Ah.
So, musically, outside of rap, have you ever thought of like maybe like exploring something different? Like, sort of like, remember how like back in the day, like all the old rock stars were doing like albums of standards, or like all
Mm.
of the, like, oh, there was that period of time where like Aretha and Michael Bolton and like all these people were doing like classical albums. Like, have you ever like had like a thought of like, oh, what would happen if I just did something that I'm
Uh,
very into, but it's like totally outside of the realm of what I'm known for, what I've ever done before?
well, I mean, n- I first of all, I would never be able to do standards or anything like that because I'm just not good enough. So, so like, yeah, but I mean, I feel like, you know what? I'll tell you what, I feel like over, like, if you really listen to like all my records that I've done, it's like I've kind of mixed every genre. I've sort of done it all. Like, I was like in an indie rock band. Like, on my first record, you can hear hip hop, but you can hear rock, like straight indie rock, like, and then on my later albums, I really was doing more like electro and rapping and house and all that. And so I kind of feel like I've done everything in a way, like besides like something that would require you to be actually super good, like a standard or something.
Oh my God. Oh, are you still based in New York or are you in LA now?
Now I'm in LA, so we moved out here like 5 years ago, to Santa Monica because I was like, "Ugh, I'm like just so over like New York City winters and all that, and like the garbage that would freeze over with the like dirty snow and the piss from the dogs." And I was like, and I've done my thing, honey. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you get there in the late 80s, like you're good if you leave around 2018, like so we moved. I was just like, I want to be by the ocean. And so, oh my gosh, I just love it out here so much. It's really different. Like sometimes I tell my husband, like, it's like Stepford Wives. I'm like, I haven't heard like one car going down the street playing hip hop or anything. I'm like, what is, it's like pretty
Santa
vanilla.
Monica is its own place. Like Santa Monica is its own place, and it's very
Yeah.
unique enclave. How did you land in Santa Monica versus say like anywhere else in LA County?
Just the ocean. I just
Just
kind
the
of like,
beach.
yeah, I just kind of like closed my eyes and like I mean, of course I'd been to LA a bunch of times, but like I didn't really know LA very well. And so I just was like looked on the map what was close to the ocean and close to like Hollywood and all that. Not that I basically, it's so weird once you like you hardly go into the city anymore. Like you're
And
sort of like
Hollywood. So I was based. I moved back to New York after I was in LA for 8 years, 9 years. Like during COVID, I moved back to New York. I rarely went out to Santa Monica, and I lived in Hollywood. I lived by the Bowl,
yeah,
and it's far. I mean, even
it's
though it's
far.
not far, it's like it takes a while, and it's like between traffic and all of that. And so when I think of Santa Monica, I think of most of the people I know in Santa Monica kind of like live in Santa Monica, work in Santa Monica, play in Santa Monica, dine in Planet Santa Monica. I
Right.
think I think of Santa Monica as like this beautiful soap opera town.
It's true. It's true. There's like zero flavor here. I will just say that right now. There is no creativity, zero flavor. The only good thing is I found this guy who used to be an engineer for Dr. Dre and Aftermath for like 10 years. And now he has a studio out here in Santa Monica. I'm like, okay, there's like one little piece of flavor I found in Santa Monica. But like otherwise, I'm like, but also I'm a mom, right? So I have a 12-year-old kid. And so it's just like a really lovely place to like raise a kid and be like a mom in fucking sweatpants and sneakers.
It's beautiful. Yeah, no, it's perfect. I just mean like in terms of like I think about Santa Monica as being like I would imagine like if I'm moving to Santa Monica, it's like you'd never leave Santa Monica because it's like, do I
Well,
really want to go all the way to Hollywood today?
it's so true because like
Do I really want to like
no, I know. I have another guy I work with. His name's Shock, and he has a studio in downtown LA. And our start time was 4:30 in the
PM
afternoon.
AM in the
And
afternoon?
yeah.
Like he
Okay,
might
guess
as
how
well
long
be in.
it took 1 hour, 25 minutes to drive like what is it, 10, 15 miles? Like I
Something
don't
like that, yeah. Well,
uh-huh.
that's what I was thinking. Like he might as well have a studio in Manhattan. At
Yeah.
least it won't take you as long to get to LAX.
I know. I know. An hour and a half. I'm like, okay, we're not doing this studio time anymore. Like, so yeah, that's what you have to deal with. I mean, it's ridiculous here. Ridiculous.
Yeah. That was
But
one of the things I loved about living in Hollywood because you're right there. You're in the middle of the city and you are right there at the 101. So, not that there's no traffic on the 101, but if you wanted to go to the west side, you can just go up and over.
yeah,
Or if you
definitely.
wanted to go downtown, you could. That was the one thing I did love about living in Hollywood was that like, all right, this is probably the easiest way to get to anywhere in this town
Yeah.
as quickly as possible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. And oh yeah, and so you're in Vegas now, and I did want to shout out DJ Mighty My, who did Bad Babysitter for me 20 years ago, that hit song, but he's got a residency in Vegas. He lives there now too. And I'm trying to remember
Awesome.
what club he has a residency. I'm not really doing a good job of oh,
Oh,
Surrender Nightclub. Surrender Nightclub and Encore Beach Club. I just Googled it.
That's awesome. Yay. Well,
Yeah.
we'll have to go and check him out. Do you get to Vegas?
Not as much as I think I would like to. I think it'd be really fun to come and play or just hang out or whatever. But yeah, I always have a good time. I really love Earth Cafe. That's my other spot. Do you know Earth Cafe? It's so good. It's so
I know
yummy.
Earth Cafe from Los Angeles.
Well, there's one in Vegas. You got to go.
So
Well,
I
now you
have to
know.
check it out. Now you have to come out to Vegas and we have to do it. You have to come out to Vegas. Yeah,
I
you have
would
to come out
love
to
to.
Vegas.
Yes,
And we'll go to the
yes.
Encore Beach Club
Yes.
And we'll like, yeah. I'm so
Kiki.
excited. Yeah. Totally. Oh my God. It's been such a pleasure meeting
Aw,
you,
thank you.
my
It was
liege,
such
Your Highness.
aw. Well, I gotta thank you for such a fun interview and remembering things I haven't talked about in a long time. So thank you. It was super fun.
Absolutely. Where can we find you on the Instagram and on the TikTok?
Okay, well, on Instagram, I'm at Princess Superstar, all one word. And then TikTok, I'm at The Real Princess Superstar.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you again. I can't wait to chat with you again and see you in person. And thank you all out there in Radio Land for joining us this week. And we will talk to you next week for another fabulous episode of Showtime with Jordan Van Helden and Friends, right here on Hot 702.5 FM Las Vegas.